At the same time, I can suggest uh, ways to augment it. So probably it will be good that you have an extra number indicating the area. So I know it's cool to have that number, that sole element in that lot, but it'll be good to know the area as well. And since we are talking about the site location, I think it's good that if you provide the dimension of the plot of the property. Okay, so it's good that you have a bar scale on the side and the north sign. The bar scale is very important, guys, because we need to know the dimension. Um, it cannot be treated as a graphic design only. Although in my studio, I always like the submission of the student to be a graphic design exercise, but not compromising the architectural quality of the drawing. We need to balance both. It cannot be too technical in the design aspect because you need to make it look presentable, palatable to the client, but at the same time, it cannot be too cartoonish. So you need to balance the two. So I guess this is a balance of both. Um, I would probably prefer that the project location tech is smaller and then probably make the drawing a little bigger. Although I understand this, if this is scaled on A3, I'm not sure yet if this is the actual scale of the site location in relation to the A3 paper. I'm not sure yet, but if not, but if it is, then probably it's not limited on the circle. Probably you can occupy the remaining space in the A3 size paper, showing the other context beyond 50 millimeter radius, and then probably occupying half of the page, just so it doesn't feel like it's um, empty. Because the moment you reduce the size of the font of the project location text, this area will look empty already. So that's why you need to fill it up with content. All right. So figure ground map. So it's the same thing. The text on the side can be a little smaller. Uh, Normally, guys, smaller text are more elegant to look at. It's just that you need to balance it again. If it's too small and it's unreadable, um, it will be I don't know, it will be not functional as well. So you need to make it understandable and legible. So okay, normally when you say FGM or figure ground map, it's the inverted version. I understand why this is done because why this is done the inverted way because Aaron probably wants to show the outline of the sidewalk, and but normally it's the other way around because you're showing the void and the negative spaces. So it's just that it's becoming confusing because you know that the street is a negative space. It's now similar with the plot with the buildings around it when it's not supposed to be like that. What should be similar are the surrounding spaces around the buildings and the sidewalk. Because you're talking about voids, negative and positive spaces. All right.
Okay, sir, we can.
Slides, particular slide, a figure ground map. So I don't know if you got what I was talking about, what the problem is when it comes to this drawing. Like we understand that it's supposed to be showing the sidewalk, but the problem with this is that it's confusing now because the road is now similar with the buildings when the building is supposed to show that it's the positive space and the road and the surrounding space around the building should be a negative space. That's what the FGM is supposed to be. You get it? Okay. Okay. This is in Pasay. So basically, it's talking about the uses around the area. So residential, house and lot. Okay. Normally, when it comes to zoning, it's generalized. I appreciate the specific use indicated here. Um, it's talking about house and lot, apartment building, trading services. Very specific, which is actually good. Road traffic, 1 to 2 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Aaron, what do you mean by the minutes?
Uh, sir, so this is based on my experience when I was when I went through there before the quarantine. It usually takes actually 5 to 10 minutes in Protasio Street, just across from that one end to the next, because it's very congested in terms of traffic. So before, when I used to come home, in that area, it gets really congested to a point that it takes 5 to 10 minutes just to go from that end of that street all the way to the next end of what's shown here. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Normally when you have a time in relation to distance and travel, um, it should be relative to the destination and the origin. Do you get it? So the 1 to 2 minutes is in terms of what? From one point to what point? Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you missed that particular information. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. But it's not bad. You just need to add that information. Okay, this is good. Um, but it's better if it's going to be three-dimensional, just like the one that I showed you last week. Like create a massing so that you have an idea how your building is going to relate when you create the massing already. Okay, this is can you explain the color here? You have a light green here and then there's a darker green here.
Yes, sir. So to explain, I was actually, when I was doing this portion of the sun bath, these are all calculated through manual, so it was not automatically generated. So I tried to look for the latest critical heat points in time in back in 2020. So these are based on June 2020 in terms of heat. And then what I did was I also based the flow of the wind in terms of that. So in this entire in this entire sun path, what I'm only showing is actually uh, solar altitudes that reach from 30 degrees and up. So these are the ones that are most likely to make their way to the. These are most likely the sunlight that would go into the site. So anything below 30 degrees is very unlikely to make their way into the actual site. So I only consider 30 degrees and up. And also here you see the in terms of what the temperatures are for each location. The green one is 27 to 32 degrees, and the quite more yellow one is 32 to 41 degrees. These are actually datas that you can compare in Pag-asa. So Pag-asa has actually a data for this. Uh, Mainly the green is to show how it can actually affect in terms of the human discomfort. It has caution fatigue, in possible long prolonged exposure and activity, and then it could also lead to heat cramps, while 32 to 41 degrees often results to extreme heat cramps as well as heat exhaustion, and could lead to heat stroke. So this is just to define more properly at what time or at what locations need more shading and which ones don't need as much shading, so that it can be more cost effective.
Okay. Very impressive information. I really appreciate this slide and the information that you shared with us because this is going to be useful for our next exercise. But keep in mind that it's not enough that you treat it as a diagram. Again, like I said, it needs to be treated three-dimensionally because there are a lot of factors when it comes to uh, considering sunlight, especially wind, when you are dealing with a surrounding built environment as well, because one side of the property might have a taller building, the other side might have a lower building. That alone can already affect the speed of the air, the wind, and also sunlight exposure. So, but as a diagram, this is very impressive. Okay, vegetation. Do you have an information on the vegetation around the area?
So unfortunately, sir, because I don't currently live in that location, I actually didn't get the chance because I wasn't allowed to go out. But I didn't get the chance to look at the actual species that were around. But I did manage to just locate them using the Google Earth
Okay,
application.
okay. This is okay. I understand this is the last slide that the Aaron has, but when it comes to the extra research that we are expecting from the submission, just to enrich the submission because that's our studio agenda. It would have been better if there's more specific information about the vegetation and then probably more slides talking about other information that you want to talk about, other information that you want to explore later on that can advance your work. So, but for now, this is good. But normally, when we're talking about plant location, technically, when you have an actual project, you have a surveyed plot done by the surveyor. It includes the topographic properties or features of the site. When you say topographic, you understand what I'm talking about, like those lines um, that indicate the slope and uh, yeah, to indicate the slope, and then it normally includes the location of the trees, and the survey also provide the information on the species of the tree, and then the location of the tree and the size of the trunk, and sometimes the size of the crown. Um, yeah, but for now, I guess this is a guess estimate. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. So far, these are just the estimates of the trees around.
Okay. Sige. Thank you, Aaron.
Yes.
Okay. So actually, Idrius submitted a different version earlier, asking for advice if he did it the right way, and then I asked him to take out the title block because in my case, when it comes to a design exercise, I want to limit the title block because it's not a technical subject. It's more of a design subject. Although I understand the examples I provided last week had those, so which is okay. But I try to treat it as like a poster. Try to treat it like an artwork, so it won't look very technical. So yeah, and then diagram wise, it checks all the boxes. uh, Maybe I would appreciate, like what I said earlier, to indicate the property line probably, because what Idris did here is to highlight probably their house, excuse me, and the house doesn't indicate the property line. For now, this is good, Idris, but it would be better if you indicate the property line itself, no? Um, because your property might be bigger than what you are showing.
Yes.
Okay, and then for a design presentation, normally I don't like seeing dimensions because I find it too technical. But when you're showing a property or a plot, that's where I appreciate the dimension just for that slide alone. But for the other slide, the seating slides, I don't like to see the dimension because it really distracts you um, from the design. So and from the layout as well. So okay, I would probably okay.
Sir, may north, andyan po yung north to, north symbol sa.
Yeah, medyo cartoonish, no? So, yeah, I don't know if you really like it, but it's fine. But I think we just need to make the north sign clear, Idrius, because
Custom.
yeah, because right now it looks more of a cartoon rather than a north sign. So for me, it's okay if this is your style, but
Yes.
make sure that it's understandable. It's a north sign. It took me probably 10 seconds to figure it out that it was the north sign. Do you get it? You need to make it.
Or I remove na lang po yung ano, yung leaf.
It's okay. Like I said, if this is really your thing, it's okay. But right now, I'm judging it based on how understandable your drawings are. Right now, overall, it is. It's just that the north sign is a little cartoonish. All right.
Yes po.
Okay. Okay. This is actually okay. One. Okay. These are basically landmarks that are recognizable in Idrius area. That's why you have a um, different typologies on the legend.
Marymount.
Yeah, you have a school,
Marymount School.
playground, you have a clubhouse. These are different types.
Basketball court.
So at first it's a little confusing, but when you see the word vicinity map, it's given already that it's not really catering to a specific typology when it comes to the mapping. What do you mean by tree size, Adrius?
Height po, sir. Height.
Okay, so generally this is the height, no? But like I said, it's
Yes
very
po.
important to know some specific details, especially if you're dealing with your specific plot already. I'm not asking guys for you. I'm not asking you to map all the trees within the 50 meter radius. That's crazy. At least within your property, that's where you map it specifically. Okay, Idrius. Zoning, it's all residential, I understand. But I think you need to provide a different classification for the other non-residential plots, such as the school, the playground, etc. Okay, I think
Meron po, sir.
you segregated it. When it comes to zoning, you can just have one slide for it because this is a very small um, scope that we are talking about. So it's not like a city-wide type of study like what I showed you last week. Um, it's okay to layer segregate this information when we're talking about a bigger scale of planning. But when it comes to this, I think it can be reduced to a smaller number of slides. Okay, so I guess the same thing. So what do these diagrams mean, Idrius?
Yan po yung ano, yung daanan ng mga kotse. Yung
Yeah.
daanan po lang secondary one way lang po.
Okay. Okay. I think your arrows are too big. Okay. How did you find out the information about the water and sewer lines?
Sir, lumabas po sa bahay sa may na-obserban ko po yung ano, mga drain, butas.
Okay. Okay. It's always good to have images.
Sir,
Corresponding images. Because
Meron po dito sa ano.
you have this big open space here on the side of your map. It could have occupied. It could have been occupied by the images.
Sir, wait. Side dive po, may picture po doon.
Where? The side?
Naka-share po ako ng screen. Naka-share po ako.
No, you need to put it in the map, in the sheet already. All right? It needs to be
Here po, sir.
integrated so that, what do you mean?
Sa Google Drive po.
So this is not updated?
Yes po.
Okay, sige. Okay. I'll just check it
Here,
later.
share ko lang po.
Okay, I'll just check it na lang later on, ha?
Sige po.
Sige. But generally, good job, Idrius. Sound activity. This is where it becomes a little subjective because we are using different symbols in indicating the magnitude of sound, the magnitude of noise, etc. But you need to be very specific when it comes to this information. Maybe right now the mapping is generalized. You're just talking about the source of the sound. But I remember having a student, I shared this with my former students last term. She mapped the smell of a certain place. It so happens that the place has a bakery, and that the smell of the bakery is very strong. That it makes her hungry. So what she did is that even though it's a crowded place, that the way she mapped the smell at certain times of the day, when they are baking the pandesal, she would map it at an increment of 2 meters. You get it? So for every 2 meters, that's where she provided the reduced line of the smell, the magnitude of the smell. So that way, you can really see that she was talking about that 4 meters, it's already not recognizable. I can already smell the shoes on the next store. Do you get it? So it needs to be that specific when it comes to mapping this kind of sensorial properties around the site. Okay, I love this submission because the line types and the line values are correct, and it's a direct to the point information. We can see a well balanced layout, just the right size of the font and the right size of the north sign and the bar scale. I really appreciate the submission. So you have the figure ground map. Basically, she's saying that this is the property. Can you see the marquee? Oh no.
Yes,
Kita,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then you can see the negative, the positive spaces, and then we're still looking at the same map again, providing more information such as the river stream, and then the pathways, and then she even has a biking trail, very elegantly drawn on the sheet. So you need to be very cautious about balancing the line types and the line values. And then what's useful, guys, is for you to keep on practicing, doing the layout from AutoCAD and Illustrator, and then exporting it. It's always better to keep exporting it and seeing it as a JPEG, so that you can see if you're satisfied with the values of the lines, the colors, etc. It's always like that. Even when you are printing the plans already, sometimes the color quality on the screen is very different when it's printed already. You understand? So it's always about testing it. So again, different quality of the arrows. Basically, is this an empty property, Bea?
Yeah, it is. But there's a lot of trees in there, yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right. I love the diagram, but try to imagine if it has the same hefty information as Aaron's. it would be more impressive. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking about the sun path and the wind direction with all those numbers, because right now it's a generalized graphic. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it can be really better if you have that data shown on the diagram. Okay, I appreciate the three-dimensional uh, presentation. This is what I was talking about. You can already imagine the density of the place. What software did you use just for everyone's information, Bea?
I just use SketchUp.
All right. Sige.
Yeah.
Okay. Even the vegetation, do you have are these specific information in terms of trunk and crown?
I used Google Maps satellite view, but then I went there also and just checked it out. But yeah.
Okay. You know why the trunk diameter is important? Because you need, and also the other information about the tree, because you need to find out how wide the root is going to be, how wide the trunk is. It's not just about the trunk, no. It's all about the roots. Because when the tree keeps growing, it can actually compromise the structural integrity of your building. That's why I'm not sure if you've seen structures that are cracking already because there's a even sidewalks because there's a tree wherein the roots are already growing from expected. Noise activity, the same information I provided with the previous student. It needs to be very specific, but in this case, I guess what this can be read as is that this is like the source of noise when it comes to the property. So how different is this slide from this one, Bea?
So with the views site, I kind of wanted to show if it was like a positive or negative view in terms of how a viewer would interpret it, because sometimes the area would kind of be messy and not a pleasant sight to see. So then that's what I wanted to represent in the views plate. And then in the vistas, I just wanted to show all the like the positive views you can see in the area because it's surrounded by greenery, parks, and a really well-maintained creek. So then that's what I wanted to include.
Okay, very good. Actually, like the decision on the graphics. It's abstract, but at the same time, it's very informative and it's agreeable. So you don't just provide graphics that look cute. It needs to be informative enough and at the same time agreeable in terms of what it does. And when you're looking at this like gradient of lines, and you know that if there's more opening, then probably it suggests that the view is more open. It's the same case with the vistas, integrating the image with the property. Because this slide only works if you are already familiar with the property because you can see that the images are superimposed on top of the property. So this only works now because we are now familiar with the plot. Okay, but in general, this is very impressive graphic design work.
Okay na po, sir.
Okay. All right. So it's the same. It's the same as Anna. The scope is a little big for the micro site. It feels like it's a macro type of study because when we're talking about the micro study, we're talking about just the neighborhood, immediate vicinity that you can go around. This will be very overwhelming for you to cover. Okay. So, but I appreciate the effort. You just need to apply the same effort, the same quality of drawing to the micro study. This is a good example of showing the road network and the positive, the negative spaces. But again, I'm still confused where the project location is, I would assume that it's going to be this one. Tama ba? Is it correct? This is your project site.
Ito po. Ito pong space.
Okay. Okay. Sige, sorry. Because okay, the one that pops out are these two properties. That's why I got confused. So how big is the property? Are you familiar with the area?
Hindi ko pa po nakuha yung area.
Okay. Somehow, since we cannot be too specific with the numbers yet, what you can do is go to Google Earth, and there's a measuring tool in Google Earth, and then just provide the length and width, and you can get the area already. Okay. But you need to provide the property line, just like what Bea did. Okay. If this is going to be the area. Now that you're talking, I don't know how big these houses are. Are these really small house, really small houses?
Yung iba po, mga apartment, and then yung iba malalaki po yung bahay.
Okay, then I think we need to squeeze the scope, because if you're saying that all the squares are different sizes of buildings, then we're looking at the really big map here. So you need to squeeze it in, zoom in. Around 300 to 500 square meter of work site, of a site that we can work on. So okay, clothing store. Okay, I don't know if you're following my comments on the other works and following and benchmarking Aaron's work when it comes to providing more information. I want you to apply the same standard with this diagram. Maybe just a comment on the quality. Gera, what's your first name? Because Gera sounds very masculine.
Friend Shay po.
Hey, Shay, ikaw pala si Shay. Yun, the buildings are overlapping the road outline. So make sure that it's within the plot, within the block, so that it will look more professional looking. All right. Water lines. Okay. Okay, not bad. Again, same information about the vegetation. Right now, these are all generalized from mapping of the vegetation, but I would appreciate it more if there are more specific information. So far, it's only Beas who had the slightly detailed information about the vegetation, because that's our agenda, as I mentioned last week. But generally, this is good, but you need to zoom in. All right. Okay, let me just scroll. Are you the long hair guy?
Yes, sir.
Wait lang, ah. Are you on the screen? Can you see yourself? No. Ayun. Okay, sige. All right, good. At least I can see the property from this map. This is a correct figure ground map. It's just that I'm a little OC sometimes with the FGM, because I still want to see the sidewalk. That's why what I think it was Cheska who did it with a combination of a light colored block, but still it still feels it is an open space. But technically, this is an FGM, so it's good. So is this specific information, um, Francis? Like
Uh,
general.
no, estimate lang with Google Maps.
Okay, so somehow when it comes to the ground, we can use a Google Map. But when the place is accessible to you, I think it's better to measure it. The actual.
Okay, sir.
All right. Vistas. Okay. This side doesn't have any nice view. when you indicated the vegetation on this space, I think that's a nice view, don't you think? Oh wait,
Ay, meron kasi siyang dividing wall kaya hindi masyadong makita yung mga puno sa likod kaya I don't consider it as a view.
okay. And then probably you need to provide a map showing the views around the site so that
Okay, sir.
you can really see it, no? Because while this is impressive, good for Instagram, but I'm not sure in relation to your site, it will be useful because it's a little far at the back. Okay, so maybe, I mean, as a map, it's okay. Probably saying that's unfortunate. The nice vista is not not visible from the actual site. So this is actually okay. There you go. There's another 3D which I like, and yeah, imagine this diagram with the information that Aaron provided. It will be more impressive. Yeah, more impressive, more
Okay, sir.
professional and scientific at the same time. I don't know how you're going to do it as a designer. Then that's something that you can figure out. Very good. It's more pleasant to see actually a map that is three-dimensional. Because when you're looking at something three-dimensional, you're already excited to design, right? Versus looking at something very flat. Okay. So Shay and Cheska and Anna, this is the size of the micro site that we're talking about. Not too big. It's almost like a town already. Just a neighborhood type uh, of site, a neighborhood type of study. Okay. Yeah, I'm loving this presentation because it's three-dimensional. Not to mention, we're looking at something three-dimensional. It feels like you're playing a game. Although I'm not sure about the traffic-heavy areas that it looks like they're stains. Um, I don't know how you can better represent it. When you're looking at the map of traffic, it's normally a gradient on you see the road as an artery, and then you provide gradient, no? So I think that's better than
Okay,
showing
sir.
spots. Because when you use this kind of visual communication tool, like those spots, it feels like there's a damage on that spot, the spot that isolated spot. It's not really the entire stretch. When you talk about traffic, you're talking about the road, which is a stretch. It's like an artery. But generally, this is a very commendable work.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Or it's the same side as the weaving idea.
No, I changed it.
Okay.
I moved to Kamuning.
Okay. Is this accessible to you?
Yeah, I usually go there.
Okay. Sige. So I'm happy that I'm seeing three-dimensional right away. So okay, maybe just on the screen because of the fill lines, it's very hard to read. But I understand that there's a line values uh, applied here. But when it comes to the video, it's a little unreadable. But I'm sure when you print it, it can come out really elegant on paper. So okay. Okay. Normally, guys, when you have a very thin profile of the drawing, since you are just showing a certain scope of the neighborhood, then you provide an outline. It applies to buildings as well. when you have an elevation, when you have a section, the drawing becomes more attractive when you provide a thicker outline, which Janil provided here. And then what I like about this diagram is that instead of just putting the property on the map itself, uh, it's like a semi-exploded diagram. So she lifted it up just to highlight the shape, basically. So as a flat map, this is how it looks like. Let me just zoom in. Okay, I'm loving the fact that there are a lot of information with this map. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. Very professional, very attractive looking map with the right information, with the right size, with the right scale. Again, it cannot be too cartoonish. This one has the right balance of technical and at the same time graphical quality to the presentation. Okay, very good. Okay, oops. Oh, it has a contour, really? Is it really sloping, Janil?
Not necessarily. It's um in a sequence of 2 meters
Okay, so
in that radius.
you won't really feel it. Really.
Yeah, it's not really recognizable.
But it's impressive that you have this information. Normally, uh, you can only have a topographic map if you ask someone to survey it by a survey engineer, or I don't know if she got this from Namria. It's like Philvox or Pag-asa. It's an agency by the government providing information uh, about our land. They have a general topographic map there, but when it comes to a specific project, it needs to be surveyed. But for academic purposes, it is actually impressive that you were able to provide this opinion. Zoning commercial. Is it because it's all commercial?
No, I don't think it's really recognizable, but I highlighted the Kamaning market in front, gray. I
Uh,
separated the different zones in different sheets.
so because right now it says zoning commercial. Right. It's aggregated. Sorry.
Yeah.
Zoning residential. Okay. Okay. This is the type of drawing that you would see in competition documents, design competitions. If you are joining architectural design competitions abroad, this is the kind of drawing that you need, the quality of drawing that you need to produce. Okay. So one of the reasons why we created the Google Drive is for you guys to also look at the maps created by your peers so that it can become a reference. So I'm here to provide comments and cite good examples of the current submission that you can also emulate on your next work. Okay, very good. So the images, how would I know where I'm looking at? How am I looking?
Since this like the radius, I picked a 70-meter radius, so there are other landmarks within the area that I think are essential for the site, but it didn't reach the vicinity, so I just located it with arrows pointing like where it
Mm.
would be located.
Oh yeah. I can
Yeah,
see.
like maybe like 1 block away. Yeah.
I think what will be more impressive if you have like an approximate distance, let's say 100 meters, 100
A
meters.
label with distance.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
approximate lang. Yun. So this is pedestrian. Okay, very good. How many square meters your property?
540 square meters estimated.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Lack of vegetation, really? And green space.
Yeah, these trees that I found in Google Earth, they're inside like residential properties or um I'm not sure if it's updated kasi, but then generally there's no vegetation in that area.
Okay. Okay, I can't really comment much because the maps are really impressive already. Okay. Okay. Really impressive work. Where's Jao?
Hello,
How do you look like?
I look like
Ayun,
Joe.
ayun. May vlogger mic. Vicinity map. Where's your property here, Jao?
the one with the one with the arrows or like the line thing.
Okay. I think it will be better since I can see the other slides having colors. If you put the colors, it will pop out. Because right now it reads as if it's like one of those buildings. All right. But the line values, the line types are actually good. Really good. Figure ground map, very good. Zoning, okay, very good. Maybe you can make the scale bigger so that I don't know if it's your style. Honestly, my style is also the same way. Uh, like I like a lot of negative spaces because of minimalist style. But but for I don't know if you can make it bigger so that it can occupy more space on the sheet. But it's really up to you. But right now, our focus is how the map is functional and how it is readable. Oh, it's a lot of open spaces. Ah, really? Are you in Pampanga now? Are you in this area?
Uh, yeah.
Ah, okay. That's why there are a lot of spaces. Okay. Okay. Very beautiful maps. Like I like the consistency of the text and the information on at the bottom, like a bar. It's very consistent. Uh, who was that guy again? The one who did the 3D. Guerra. Let me just remember. The long-haired guy. The one who did the.
Me,
What's your name again?
Francis, sir.
Hey, Francis. Martin. Ayun, can you imagine your road traffic indicating the traffic this way with a gradient like this? Siyempre, if it's going to be a heavy red, it's heavy traffic. And then if it's going to go lighter,
Okay, sir.
become lighter. So I think that's a more agreeable graphic representation of traffic than those spots. Oh, are there specific information on vegetation? Uh,
I'd say almost because I went around and like
okay,
kind of estimated there. Yeah.
okay. Really good. I like the consistency of the presentation. It's good that you also have a 3D. Again, integrate what Aaron did. Very good. Wow. You guys have eyes, huh? On a really good eye on design and color and scale. Um, Even the images, hipster quality. All right, very good. All right. This is a different approach. Can you guys hear me? Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a different approach because he filled the content of the sheet with color, which is gray, and then when looking at the figure ground map, I'm looking at an area in Binondo, but still doesn't show where where I know where the location of the property is.
Sir, yung sinabi mo kasi na site inventory, I didn't know that we had to pick a site pa. Ay, akala ko parang the site has to be within the neighborhood lang, pero wala pang specific site.
Okay.
So, kaya pinili ko muna center ng neighborhood is my house.
Okay, kasi
That's what I did.
in general, you are to pick your house so that you don't have to go out. But if you're not happy with your location, for as long as it's accessible within the neighborhood, then you may pick another property. But this, I think, is acceptable in terms of scale. It's a little big, but I think it's okay. It's not too big as the others. So, okay, I appreciate the three-dimensional quality of this diagram. This is just a personal preference. You may disagree with it, but I think I like it more when there's an outline on the building, uh, because right now it feels like it's just a layer that is turned off. I don't know if you experience this in SketchUp or in
Does that mean it's already?
how what?
Ay, sige, go, sir.
Ayun,
Sige, go, sir. Go lang. Wala.
ayun. So I don't know if you experience it when you are using SketchUp, because my style in SketchUp is that I always group the layers. Not the layers. Always group the geometry. For instance, it's going to be a wall. So that wall will be one group, and then it's also one layer. But sometimes you forget to shift to the another layer, and then when you turn off that layer, and so happens that line is belonging to that layer, parang naka-turn off lang siya, but the geometry, the three-dimensional volume is still visible. Do you know what I mean?
Sir,
Experiences in
for
sketch.
this one kasi, sir, I did use SketchUp. Eh.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're talking about the outline of the building, again, this is just a personal preference. Uh, when it comes to this diagram, I feel like it just the outline was turned off. But this is okay. Anyway, it's consistent. You know what I mean? It's just a personal
Yes, sir.
experience. It's just my impression of a three-dimensional diagram. Normally, you have an outline, but if you want to stick with this, it's no problem. All right. Sige. Okay. Do you have the north orientation in this diagram?
Yan, sir. Yung may arrow sa baba.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yung sa sun lang po, tsaka yung sa figure ground map, yung linagyan ko ng north orientation, sir.
Okay, it's better to provide a north sign. You need to add the north sign in the wind path diagram. Actually, in all the maps, it's always better to have a north orientation sign.
Sige po, sir.
Okay, so traffic intersection, traffic roads. Okay, I'm a little confused about when you see traffic. Okay, I can see the circle. How come the traffic roads is in broken lines, and when I'm looking at the diagram, it's continuous line?
Sir, the continuous line, the yellow one, you see, yun yung road mismo. Pero yung naka-broken line na black is usually where the traffic is.
Okay. Probably use a more distinctive color so that it will stand out against the yellow. Probably the
Sige
same
po, sir.
color, just a different gradient.
Sige
Like
po, sir.
a contrasting color or contrasting gradient of that color. What's that building? How come it generates a lot of noise?
Ano po?
It's an ongoing construction. All
Yes,
the
sir.
red ones. That's why.
The buildings that I highlighted, yung may solid, those are either construction or parang warehouse, yung mga nagbobodega. Po, sir.
But in
Tapos may other.
But in general,
Ano po, sir?
is really noisy, no?
Oh, yes, sir. Pero hindi naman siya lahat ng buildings maingay, hindi lahat ng streets. Just some specific parts, sir.
Okay. What's the name of this building? Is this the long one that you can see along Ross Boulevard?
Hindi po. China Steel Tower po siya.
Yeah,
I think it's around
that one
20 to 30 floors, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if it's still Ross Boulevard, that area. I don't know that street.
Pero yung roof niya naman, sir, I think may parang Chinese roof siya ata sa taas.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was the long one. Anyway. So, the Disco Tower, China State Tower. It's so red, huh? Your diagram really pops out. Okay. PNB Bank. Okay. So the others are purely residential?
Sir, sa Binondo, I had a hard time choosing kasi di ba usually when you go to Binondo, most of the houses are residential above. Tapos sa baba, parang nagiging commercial, parang may store siya.
Like a shop?
So I based it na lang if sa my ground floor is like, if you pass through a street, do you notice the residential first or yung commercial? So if commercial yung una notice, yung sa baba, I went with commercial. Pero kung parang apartment like siya, parang condo, like parang may lobby talaga siya sa baba, I made it residential.
But is that condition consistent with Binondo? Like all commercial, but all the floors above are residential?
Not really, sir. Pero if usually yung kasi mga buildings sa Binondo, if it's like semi-commercial or semi-residential, usually in commercial areas are like 1/3 of the building and then the rest residential. Pero hindi yung itsura ng residential, hindi siya halata.
Okay.
I think usually may mga steel bars lang siya.
I think since this is a very doable scope and area, this is what makes your site very distinct from others because of the shop position. Then probably provide a diagram wherein you can show that a lot of them are residential above and then commercial at the bottom. Then probably a different color at the bottom. For example, it's light orange. So you can see a dominant orange at the ground level, which indicates commercial activity. And then
all so parang hinati ko yung building. Ganun.
Yeah, because it's a very distinct condition. Distinct condition that you can only find in Binondo. Okay. Okay. So there are no vegetation.
Wala, sir. Wala talagang plants sa area ko. Puro buildings lang talaga.
Yes. That's okay. Thank you, Patito. Sige. I think you need to darken the buildings. It's all about the open space and the built-up space. So the building should be darker, and then the open space without any building should be lighter. Okay, so I don't know if it's on my screen, but I cannot read the numbers. Probably you can change the numbers into white. But yeah, I understand this is a vicinity map. Okay, this is what I was talking about when it comes to Adri's maps, when you can actually put all information in one map. Okay. I think what we can do is we can benchmark the sun and wind path that Aaron prepared so that we can provide more information for this slide. Because everyone can do this, no? Like to figure out the orientation, etc. But if you provide more information, I think that's more impressive. Okay. Okay, I forgot already. I think it's still Aaron who provided the height of the buildings. It will be nice to have a different color for a certain height of buildings, if it's 2-story, 3-story, and then it's indicated on the map as well. And then you have a legend showing the height of the building on the side. But this is a good start. Okay. 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 All right. Very good.
Sir, sa labas po ng subdivision namin, yung parang commercial zone.
What's the area of the property?
Ay, actually sir, hindi ko po na-measure.
Okay. Like I said earlier, you can use Google Map to do that. So, okay. What is this overlapping block?
Yung ano po siya actually, sir, parang park. Yung kulay green mo.
So this building's overlapping this park?
Medyo po, sir. Parang hindi naman po nag-overlap.
Okay. You need to fix the boundaries. You need to be a little accurate about it. So this is where the technicality of the information of the lines come into play. That's why I kept commending the work of Janil, because it's a balance of something very technical at the same time very graphical. Because the impression of a diagram such as this one, it is as if it was drawn on PowerPoint. Do you get it? Doesn't feel very professional. But this one I can say, since you can see the trace, I can imagine that it's actually good. It's just that the moment you colored it, it's a little. Maybe it lacks line values. Okay. Hold on. Let's just pause this because the cleaning ladies.
Okay, sir.
Wait lang. Just let me know, nag-zoom lang. Nag-zoom lang. Okay na po ba? Okay na, okay lang. Sige. Okay. Okay, is it everything okay? Everything is visible?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. The information is there, just that probably the method of presentation can improve. Okay. Because it does not only apply in architecture, but when it comes to planning, uh, the precision of the detailing plays an important role in how how it influences you as a designer when you are drawing or drafting your work. And if you're not very particular about it, if you're not sort of OC, it's part of our job to be OC, it can affect the quality of the design later on. So don't underestimate the value of drawings because it translates to the actual product. All right. So if you are unsure, if the drawings is so unsure, if the line values are so unsure, you're not confident about the outcome of uh, of of the process because the drawing is part of that process. Okay, thank you, Patrick. Um, it's just that probably it's better to highlight your project location,
Okay.
right? That's the only thing that is missing in this diagram.
Yeah.
You go. Okay. So are you referring to this area as your project
Yes,
site?
sir.
Okay. Maybe you can work in improving your line values. The information, the information is there. I think you have that intuition. I think what's lacking is the management of the line values and line types. Like if you notice,
Okay, sir.
Beas and Janil, they have a combination of light and then heavy lines, etc. If you employ that kind of sensibilities, I think you can achieve the same level. All right.
Okay.
So when it comes to topography, the grid lines represent what again?
Sir, the grid line is supposed to be it's supposed to sort of show the shape that like the shape of the earth, but since it's so zoomed in, since it's such a small area, it's not really seen in this one.
Ah, okay. So if
But
it's
you're
not
supposed to see like the ups and downs of the earth.
okay, so my advice is that if it's not visible, let's say you're talking about the topography, then don't say topography anymore. Then just probably indicate that no, no, actually, no, no, correct. I'll correct myself. It's okay to say topography. Basically, you're saying it's flat, right? Is your property
Okay, sir.
flat? Okay, that's okay. This is okay. Uh, and basically, you're saying it's above sea level also. Okay. What is this line?
Yes.
This line on the side.
Sir, that's just I just made it like a since I made it at an angle, I made it consistent with the others. Because if you see my others, it
Uh,
looks like a 3D box na ano.
okay. I think it's better if the height of that represents the 24-meter height. The above sea
Okay.
level. So that way, there's a meaning behind it, not just an arbitrary element of graphic design. You get
Okay,
it?
sir.
Okay. The bar scale, I think, can be more. It can be reduced, probably at 50%, even the north sign, so that it will look more elegant. But when I'm looking at the number, kasi, I think I understand the scale and proportion that you're working with. It's just me. Okay. So the pedestrian walks on the road.
Um, yeah, sir, sort of. Because what happened here was a lot of the residential areas um, were sort of took up the sidewalk. So there isn't really a sidewalk.
Where's this again? Sorry, I forgot the location.
It's near my house, a few streets away in
Which
San Juan.
San Juan. Okay, so for as long as you're sure that the pedestrian are on the road, it's okay. So they are mixed with the vehicular traffic.
Yes, sir.
All residential. Uh,
Yes, sir.
so what does this diagram mean? The fan.
Sir, so what I did, because since the entire area is residential, what I did with the fan was that's the toward that area is where the economic activity is. So that's facing towards Shaw Boulevard, which is the street where there are a lot of like groceries, restaurants,
Where's is this near Shangri-La?
near SNR, before Shangri-La, before SM.
Okay. I'm still a little confused by the fan diagram. I think it's better if the block is assigned to its purpose. If it's going to be
Okay.
commercial, um, because the fan sign from that point indicates um, like the visual angle that I can only see. You get it? It's not really
Okay.
representative of the entire area as shown in this coverage. That you need to map which areas are commercial, which areas are residential, etc. All right, I think
Okay.
that's what we mean by the economic activity, especially when we are very specific about the scope. All right,
Okay.
because this symbol is applicable when it comes to views.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so basically you are relating this to in reference to the site.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So which one is the thicker line, the black line, the black broken lines are is the water or the sewer?
Is the sewer, and then the lighter one is the water.
I think since this is not colored, it's better to have a legend to indicate
Yeah.
that. Because
Okay.
if it's colored, blue is automatically water. So the other one would make sense as another one as the other.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So the vegetation information, are they specific already or not yet?
Sir, this is sort of an estimate from Google Earth and sort of when I went around. But then I couldn't really identify the types of trees aside from the ones that were coconut.
Okay. All right. Do you
Yeah.
have photos? Maybe it's better to provide photos. So some of
Okay.
you cannot really identify the actual species, then probably you can visually define it based on
Okay.
clarity, etc. Because when we choose a topic for your site, uh, I know you have the freedom to choose what plant species you're going to work with. Uh, at least that part you should know very specific information. Okay? Sige, thank you,
Okay.
Kristen. Red na red.
Chinese eh.
Kung nagsabi niya, ha? No, I mean, I like this actually, for as long as it's consistent. Um, because consistency shows certainty, and like you're very sure of what you're doing. You're very confident of what you're doing. So in this case, it's actually applicable. Uh, Here, this is what I was talking about. If you have a 3D diagram, I think this is also what Janelle did with her 3D diagram, showing line values so that you can indicate the important stuff. And for the others who weren't able to show the actual location of their site, this is a good example. Even though it's just one color, you can already see which one is the chosen uh, site that the Lance is going to work on, because it's already highlighted. I don't think it's that's disagreeable. So unless Lance disagrees, is this the site or no?
Yes, sir. It's the site.
Okay, that's very good. So you can already see the actual site. So very good that you have a satellite map. I can really I appreciate that there's a version of the drawing, there's a version of the Google satellite photo. Okay, I'm really loving the quality of the line types and the line values presented in a single color. So the relationship of the text and the drawing is also, like, the proportion are also uh, very pleasing to the eye. That the text doesn't jump out of the sheet. That you can treat this as a poster. So again, if you're going to print this on tracing paper, even if it's not tracing paper, it's just going to be a bond paper, since it's superimposed on top of the other, you can easily relate the map together. Okay, just integrate what Aaron did in this diagram, so that way it's more scientific. So your neighbors with Matcha, with Fabico.
Nasa kabilang part siya ng Binondo eh.
Okay. Better side or worse side?
I can't tell. Mas traffic
Siyempre
dito.
better ako. The joke. Mas maganda area in Lancer because he has more commercial buildings din compared to mine.
Okay, contour map. Where did you get this information?
CAD mapper, sir. Pero I doubt the credibility kasi kapag nandun ako, it's relatively flat. Pero dito, sobrang inclined.
Okay. Anyway, we'll be working with that particular site, so I don't think you will feel the contour anyway. This is very useful when the slope is really steep. But in this case, it's in an urban setting, and most parts of Manila is not really sloping. So we can read this as a slightly sloping or flat.
Okay, sir.
What's the size of the property?
Around 650 square meter.
This is around the 500 range, so I guess it's acceptable. So very good. Very good. Okay, very good. So I guess the red because of the place then. So Lance probably branded it because of the place, not because of him. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about the vegetation? Is this accurate or precise?
No, sir. Kasi ano yun eh. Sa Google Earth lang.
Okay. This is a little bit debatable when it comes to graphic representation. I'm just going to reiterate, it's very hard to quantify that. So you need to set parameters. much like the example I provided before. Like probably you can set it at an increment of 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, but at the same time, there's a time variable when it comes to noise. Like when does it happen? What time does it happen? Etc. But if it's going to be consistent, it's very good to do an increment of a certain distance, uh, and then you have a decibel reader. Let's say for every 2 meters, certain decibel. For the fourth meter, another decibel. Do you get it? So that way, it's measurable. It's more accurate and precise. So because if you're just going to map it as a graphic representation, it's very subjective. Probably your noise might be too quiet for me. Probably it might be too louder. It might be too loud for me. Oh, may ganyan pa siya. So pero he has a collection of maps. Okay. Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
But ideally, if you can push yourself to represent this SWOT analysis in visual format, the better. If you remember what I said earlier about branding your presentation, I think it will be nicer if there's meaning to the colors or the branding that you are showing. So, but for now, I'm just looking at the work in terms of consistency and information that you provided. But to improve your work, it's always better to have like a rationale behind it. Um, so basically, you are working with the remaining spaces here in this area. Is that correct?
Yes po. Lahat po kasi yung nakapaligid dyan, shanty po, tsaka soap factory po. So,
Okay.
wala pong kahit anong commercial stuff.
Okay. Actually, I appreciate the layout. It's just that it would be better if it's just one map per sheet and then on one location so that you can easily relate them. And yeah, actually, it's beautifully drawn. We just make the other maps bigger.
Okay po.
There's consistency because right now I'm looking at a layout as if it's a layout on a 30 by 40 board. Right now we're working with something digital, so the bigger the information is, the better.
Okay po.
Okay. Main road, secondary road, very good. I like what I'm seeing. Really, no traffic?
Wala po talaga, sir.
Okay.
Wala pong parang tao dito.
Okay.
Opo.
Sun path. Oh, this is good. This is a good. It's almost similar to Aaron. Probably we just put.
Yung 4 seasons po kasi.
Okay. Okay, then probably indicate. I don't know how you're going to indicate it visually. Okay lang kahit text, basta very few text. If you can limit it to letters or numbers, better.
Okay po.
Because you cannot really bombard your graphics with a lot of text. So, okay. Maybe you just don't want to overwhelm yourself with a lot of sheets. That's why you put them. You put multiple maps on one sheet.
Yes, sir. Naglalag eh.
Okay. Okay. See, when I'm looking at this, it would have been better if the map is bigger so that all those numbers with the view pans, a fan, they're not cramped in one space. If it's bigger, then probably it will look more elegant. And probably you can lessen the scope. I don't know if it's because it's an informal settlement. That's why you have smaller building footprint. That's why it looks huge as a scope.
Yes po.
Okay, that's the reason. I guess this is okay.
Thank you po.
Just like my comment with Lance work, if you can make it more visual, the better. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Leah. Have a Google Earth. Mark, are you there?
Mahina yata yung internet, sir.
Okay. Ayun, Mark.
Medyo yung
Ayan na.
Okay. Okay, I think it's always better to have an outline because it feels as if it was just extracted from a program and then there's a layer that was forgotten. You know what I mean? With an outline, you can really define the profile of the building footprint, even the road shape, etc.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Sunpath, same comment. If you can make it more detailed as Aaron's, better. So with circulation, this is good. I like the thin profile of the line because wind is something that you cannot see. But I don't have any problems with the previous diagrams. It's just that I think this is a better representation of wind. Okay. Okay, vegetation. I think we need more information about this because either you got this from Google Earth, etc. View. What's lacking here is that the direction of the view. Probably change your bullet into triangle. Where in the opening side is the view itself.
Yes, sir. Sir, wala pa kasi akong lot eh. Ano lang siya, microsite.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
But
sir.
still, no, it's very hard to see what I'm looking at. Let's say I'm looking at 10. Am I looking at the north side or the south side or
Yes.
you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Understand.
Okay, strength, access, text number. So it's a good start when you want to convert your SWOT analysis into something visual. If it's hard to create symbols for certain information, then probably you can just highlight it on the map. But it's always better, like I said, to provide quality on those graphic elements, such as the example I provided for, was it Francis Martin or, yeah, for Francis Martin about the gradient, because it also shows the intensity. So, are you showing the typical typology in the area with this sheet?
Yes, sir. Parang ganyan yung mga shop houses dun.
Okay.
Pero parang yung idea ko dyan yung pag i-convert ko na siya with the vegetating architecture.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is a little far advanced, but because you're not designing it, but our submission will be somewhat like this, but more on the analysis of the elements of the site. So, this is a good start. And if I'm going to call the attention of Fabico, this is what I was talking about, like when you split the zoning, because it's something very unique in the site.
Yeah.
Is this Binondo, Mark?
No, Quezon City, sir.
So, are you choosing the site in this slide already?
What again, sir?
Are you choosing the site for the sheet already? That's why you have that green spot.
Sir, yung idea lang dyan kasi I wanted to have my microsite converted into a market. Pwede siyang marketplace sa shop houses and those colors can be indicated as the green. Pwede siya dyan yung mga vegetables, yung blue, yung fruits, parang market, sir.
Okay, what made you think that it's allowable for those areas, those blue zone and the red zone areas?
Allowable, sir?
Oh yeah, what made you think that you can suggest that? Is there a reason or a factor that made that suggested that you can do that?
Sir, I just base it sa scale kung gaano kabilis dumami yung vegetables, yung mabilis lang yung growth rate nun. So, mas konti siya. Yung fruit, mas matagal siya. So, dapat mas madami area.
Okay.
And same. Yeah.
Okay. But what I appreciate about this submission is that Mark is considering the agenda already. Even though, of course, it still needs a lot of work, but there's that initiative to push forward the studio topic, the studio agenda. So we need to work around this idea, but I appreciate that you're already thinking in advance. All right. Sige, thank you,
Yeah.
Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. My dog's barking. It starts in the next one, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this is a so this is the first map that utilized the entire sheet, no, which I really like because it really maximizes uh, the space and to provide more information so that she can um, yeah, she can provide a more detailed information. So where's your site here?
I will indicate it a little bit further, sir.
Okay.
I
Okay.
indicate mine.
It's a beautiful drawing. Okay, so this is noise. Is it vehicular noise?
Yes. It extends the noise, the arrow up and the right side is from the highways. So there's Danghari and then Daang Reyna with the MCX. So I could hear the noise all the way there because there's no sound barrier that blocks it off. And I'm on a hill, so the noise just goes through.
Is this a gated community?
Gated, yes.
Okay, but you can so the vehicular noise is that bad?
It's not that bad, but those areas are the most frequent areas that people go through because those are the main roads.
So you can really
But
you
it's
can
not that bad.
really hear the car passing by, etc.
Yeah, I could.
Okay. Yeah. Again, beautiful diagram. Um, how about this? What is this? No.
Um, the icon on the left, dogs. Yeah, there's a lot of dogs,
Okay.
so it's in residential.
Okay. Very good. I really love this also. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. You're about to say.
Sir, yeah, this is the. I don't know why but this submission is. Yeah, it's not in order, but
It's fine.
ayun.
I just half your grade for this mistake.
Sige, sir. Sanay naman eh.
Okay, so yeah, this is a very good diagram. What information do you have?
So, sir, this one indicates so this is the general this is the entire sun diagram, and then the highlight here shows the winter solstice, equinox, and summer solstice. These are the length. You could see the length and the location, general location of where the sun hits. So you could tell that the summer solstice, the red, the pinaka red, sir. That's the hottest time of the year. But um, and with that information, based on the summer solstice, the what time is this? 3 o'clock and 9 a.m. Anytime in between those times, those are the critical heat. So it's very hot and can, yung mainitin ka.
Okay, okay, very good. So basically, you're already saying that this is your project site at
Yes,
the
sir.
cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, yes, sir.
okay. Is that a frog?
Yeah, out
A
of
frog?
order, sorry. Um,
Is it a frog or a bird?
sorry, sir, medyo parang naiba yung arrangement. That's where I had to change the file because I realized I mixed it up. That's supposed to indicate the birds, the car, and the dogs.
Okay.
I had a separate sheet that the smaller circles, those are only birds.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's nakamix.
You find them noisy, the birds?
No, it's more of pleasant noise,
Okay.
yung birds.
Okay.
Kasi in my following sheets, I'm gonna explain more about the birds after.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
nice ko na.
Yeah. Beautiful diagrams. Can't complain.
Yeah, I kind of mixed. Yeah, that's the bird noise.
This one is what?
Oh, that one was supposed to be a transitioning page. Parang from full and then parang na-cut out na cookie circle with the typography map thing. Because it's a sloping area, so it's a hill.
Was it?
That's Habagat.
Okay. Oh, it's southwest wind. Yeah.
Mm.
And
And
this,
yeah, the property.
sorry, this one is the property, the project side.
Yeah, in my last update, I put the square meters. Medyo hindi nandyan sir. And then the trees. In my other sheet, sir, I indicated also the scientific names. And yeah, I had to revisit the site ulit to check what was number 4. And yeah, I identified the species.
Okay, very good. Very impressive. And then the views.
And then that's kind of like a 360. I just stood up, took a video, then screenshot the interesting parts. That's why it's in a circle.
Okay, very good. What can you say about this?
Sir, remember the very first photo? Yan yung dapat before that. It's the very first illustration, sir. Can you go to the very first slide?
There.
So the birds, since my location, my house talaga is, my bedroom is the second house to the left. So these are locations that I usually see the birds. And then I was able to identify the species. And then identify then the sound of the birds, because there was this online library of it indicates the species of the bird and the sample of the sound. So if you go back, there's the sound waves, sir, that shows of each species. And I indicated then the length and the weight of the birds, because they're some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. So
Okay. So
and then
are you saying that you're going to work on birds as well?
I was thinking, because of birds, they also help pollinate in terms of propagating yung mga plants, especially fruit-bearing plants. So I wanted to focus on that and how to allow these birds to populate more within the area, especially the location I picked. It had trees that, for some reason, these species I see them quite often.
Okay.
Compared to other areas of the village.
I really appreciate the effort that you are expanding this study, and it's not really the expected outcome, but it's still technically it's within the scope of the agenda because we're talking about propagation of plant species. And actually, initially, our team agenda was supposed to be anything that grows, and birds can grow. But for me, I will accept this. And then if you think this is very interesting right now, as initial research, I think it's very impressive. And I hope we can really develop this to produce something very architectural in this site. All right, sige. Impressive work, Tracy. So I'm going to deploy next week's submission as a continuation of this process. So can you guys see the PowerPoint already?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In general, so what will happen with my comments is that you're just going to update the existing folders for week 2. So if there are improvements that I suggested, this is the time that you improve it, so that in a way I can improve the grade for it. Um, if I see changes, then the grades will improve. But for next week's submission, these are the items that we need to work on so that we can progress with our studio goals towards our agenda. So we are moving towards a specialized type of research. Earlier on, we were talking about the pragmatic aspect of the site, knowing what the basic information we need to get when we are dealing with a microsite. So little by little, we are going to touch on how to make this project more interesting in terms of a topic and an idea. And definitely down the road, I'm going to explain how we can expand the known systems in architecture so that we can have a creative typology later on. But we need to do this step by step so that especially those students who are new in the studio will be guided accordingly. So, so for next week, we will have a specialized type of research, either in the form of new sets of maps and a site section. Um, you are not used to creating architectural site sections because normally it's not practice in the design classes, but this is a good way for you to learn the tactile qualities, the experiential, the sensorial qualities, especially the profile of the site, of the place that you are working on. So this is an example of a site section. You can either create a collage of the site, of the place that of your chosen site, and you can utilize your Illustrator skills, Photoshop skills, etc. But make sure that even though the elements in the site, such as the building surrounding your lot, even the lampposts, the wires, even though they are guesstimate, it's near accurate so that when you are working with your architectural proposal, it is realistic. You're not dealing with something imaginative. Uh, treat this as treat this exercise as if you're doing an actual project. You'll be dealing with the same elements. Uh, yeah, basically. So you can also practice your rendering skills, but don't get too excited with seductive rendering, etc. We're looking at a very tactile, very sensorial type of kind of rendering. So we're not looking at the technical aspect of rendering, but more on the qualities of the space, as shown in this example. You need to show textures, you need to show depth in the section, and you need to see show the divisions and the elevations. That's the profile that I was referring to. So you can design your site section this way, with the elements in the background, even the fence walls, the firewalls that set the limit of your property. So this is another example of that. Again, you can combine drawing, technical, you can combine digital from Illustrator with something very manual by using Photoshop so that you have a more sensual type of presentation. So I provided an outline, like a basic outline of what you can use, an outline that can serve as a guide in achieving this quality of site section, architectural site section. Although I understand right now it's an empty lot, we're referring to the surrounding environment of the property. So the profile is very important. Even with the practical project or a pragmatic project, you will need to deal with the height of the sidewalk and the sidewalk in relation to your property, and uh, and up to the limit of that property. Neighboring structures with details, the details can be treated as in lower opacity so that it doesn't really um, uh, jump jump off the sheet when you are already showing your actual proposal. But it will be nice to have those details, such as the window openings, their fenestration, so that you can relate your openings with the surroundings, your own openings for your proposal. Um, I think I mentioned textures, vegetation, the natural ground. Um, so basically, these are just the basic elements that I'm looking at when I'm looking at the quality architectural site section. Of course, sense of scale is there. You can put a person, you can take a photo of yourself and then adjust it in Photoshop so that it will be scaled. Okay, so this is just minimum. You can always expand it, just like what a lot of your peers did in the week 1 exercise. So, and then 3C provided a good starting point for the specialized type of research. I wanted to do the same. Right now, we're working with vegetation, and I understand that most of the site selected don't have enough information about vegetation or don't have enough vegetation to work with. So you can propose a type of vegetation or type of topic that will encourage vegetation in the site of your choice, and then work with a topic, but make sure that you provide these minimum requirements so that we have something to work with and talk about next week. This is just minimum, like I said, but you can always expand it. And this can be presented in a map format. Try to make it as visual as possible, even the numbers. You can do infographics, etc. Again, I want to reiterate the reason why we are more visual, because it's easier to translate it from translate research in visual format into something very physical or architectural later on. So again, just another point, another set of pointers. You can look at your chosen topic as a product. For example, if it's going to be a rubber tree, one student of mine last term proposed a rubber tree, and then how he can harvest it, and the products that can be extracted from it, and the method and the process to produce those products can be integrated in the architecture. So there's a kind of expansion that we're thinking of. So it can also be in the direction of as a construction material, but definitely applied on the building, on a typology, etc. So we will look at different directions, but you need to propose already this early so that we can already see and we can already try if your idea is feasible. So again, we're not looking at plants as a decoration. We're not looking at it as if a Votrongya type of a project. It can be like a part of it, but it should be more than a foliage in a building. So I don't know. I think I forgot to upload the PowerPoint showing the link of this video, but I'm showing this anyway. But this is one way to show the different important buildings in the site. Again, this was manually drawn, and then you can see the line types and line values carefully implemented, and then the textures of the buildings around it. This is not a section, but this is a part of the mapping process. And okay, sorry, this is not in order, but okay. Okay, but as an example, this guy mapped the area, and one of the things that he found interesting in the surrounding vicinity is the glass blowing factory. That's why he thought of this is not totally unrelated to vegetating topic, huh? Just to clarify, but this is the kind of process that we are referring to when you are already working on your particular topic, on how you can provide information in a visual format. And then this guy found a glass blowing factory in the area of his site. That's why he enumerated the information that he needs to know to educate himself about glass blowing. You get it? So basically, he had these machines to work with, and then probably later on it can be converted into architectural elements. Those kind of ideas. That's why before he can do that, he needs to enumerate first what the equipment's needed for such process. Because I'm sure his professors are not knowledgeable about the glass blowing process. Just like me, I won't be knowledgeable about the plant species that you are talking about. You also need to educate me. What I know is the process that is needed for me to learn about the idea that you are developing. So this process is needed when it comes to your chosen topic. All right, and then he also has another slide showing he documented the guy working in that factory on how they make a glass, basically, so on a step-by-step procedure. This may not be applicable to our agenda, but I'm just showing you the step-by-step process that you need to take so that we can have a more informed design development of our architectural project. So this is a combination of manual drawing and at the same time a collage using different art paper, different graphing paper, um, and yeah. So this is more manual. I'm not saying that you can do the same, but you are free to do so if you want to do the same way. But it's just that a very visual, enriching presentation in this and this sheet. Okay, so I forgot to mention that before this, it was this slide showing the materials found in the site that he chose, all the interesting interesting materials that he discovered. So basically, that's how I want you guys to how I want you guys to expand the site section, the creative section, and then expanding your maps into a specialized type of research. Again, if you can't find a specific plant species, propose something that you think can grow, that you think you can expand by having available materials online, or probably if your parents know about the plant, etc. So definitely you need to know about those things. And to expand that idea, I think I mentioned here, if let's say you're talking about, wait, I think I missed that slide. Oh yeah, this one. When you're talking about a certain plant species, you need to detail it this way, even with a drawing format. For example, you're talking about, let's say, a coconut tree. Like what is the spacing between uh, each tree, because so that they won't disrupt each other's roots, and what is the maximum crown. Then probably create a visual diagram showing all of those things. So you can already imagine how this information in a sheet is going to be useful when you are developing an architecture. So moving on. And the other one is a site massing that you can work with. It's going to be at 1:50, and then make sure that one layer of neighborhood is reflected. So you can use any materials. I just don't accept flimsy materials such as bond paper because it's flimsy. It doesn't look professional. You need to use something very, very hard. And then you need to compose a form. Again, there's no floor plan to base this from. There's no floor levels that you can base it from. But in terms of height, probably we can set it at 4 story, because when you provide a 5 story in the Philippines, you are required to provide an elevator already. But in this case, we're working like a low-rise building. Yeah, but you can provide floors if you want. But again, there's no basis for the design yet. I just want you guys to use the sun diagram as discussed earlier. How you can, I want to see how you are assigning the negative and the positive spaces in that four-story massing. Do you get it? I don't care if it's going to be a blob. I don't care if it's going to be a square. But of course, if it's going to be a building with a lot of things, unnecessary things that are happening that is irrelevant to sun and wind, then I will criticize it. Do you get it? So try to keep it at bare minimum, talking about massing, and then if you can borrow a flashlight, I'm going to ask you on the next week's Zoom meeting how you were able to use the sun diagram by using that flashlight. All right. So again, it's an easy exercise. It won't be because there's no design to speak of. Basically, you're just talking about assignment of openings and the positive spaces, and that way you are more familiar with the form that you are going to work with. You have an initial form finding already, and then you are more familiar where to provide the openings and which side you're going to avoid in terms of sun exposure. To get it? So it may not be final yet, but at least it's just on the side as basis and as a guide for you when you are advancing in the design stage already. Do you get it, guys? Okay. So yeah, do you have any questions? I'm going to upload this in the Benil Big Sky. I just keep forgetting because of the internet connection.
Hey, sir. Lang. Sir, yung sa ang tawag dun, yung sa section, it has to be an open lot, diba? Yung parang bahay natin, yung
Yes,
site,
yes.
parang dapat
So,
open lot section.
so what will happen is uh, you have a blurred background of the surrounding areas showing the textures. Yeah, it's a blurred background basically because you're showing an empty lot. So if there's an existing building, you need to take it out and then imagine the building behind it. It's just one section, not all sides, no? So you just need to show one side of it. But make sure that when you're showing something, because the tendency of students is to show a side wherein there's no information, it's not going to help your study. Because it's easier to do. You just have a profile and that's it. So try to choose a section that is longer and at the same time has a lot of profiles to work with and has a lot of information to work with. Do you get it? So again, side section, expanded research, just like thesis. Thesis can still advance your research because it's still on its early stages. Okay?
Sir, is the site section more of hypothetical, like you said, hypothetical textures, whatever you could feel
No,
with
no,
the site?
it should be actual. It's not. You're not suggesting anything. It should be actual. So you're not really thinking. You're documenting.
Okay, sir.
All right.
So, can it be to scale, sir, as much as we can?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Most likely, of course.
So, bali, sir, itsura is...
I cannot expect you to go to your neighbors and measure the roof, etc. Although so there are instances wherein the architect or probably another entity, professional entity, does that. It's what we call as-built drawing. They provide the as-built measurements. So I don't like doing that. So yeah, and then I'm sure Fabico will be happy to measure the buildings around him, the 30-story building around him. Fabico, you're about to ask something?
Bale, sir, parang itsura ng section is like, parang may profile lang, tapos surrounding buildings, tas entourage, tas mga ibang elements man
Yes,
kung meron.
yes,
Ganun.
yes. And then later on, we are going to have a before and after when you finish the project.
Sir?
Yeah?
Sir, next week na po ba lahat to?
Yes, yes.
Okay po, thank you po.
Sir, tanong lang. Can I see the photo ulit of the site section, sir?
This one.
So, do we have to put like yung mga tao, the activities, or it's just the buildings of the site section?
Right now kasi, this site section is not, what do you call that? The site section is
An actual project, sir.
it's an actual project already. There's a building already. Get it? So that you can already psych yourselves that this is the kind of section that you're going to produce later on. Okay, so try to imagine this without the building.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, sir, it's like the one yung nasa likod ng ano, the photo kanina. So, it's like the backdrop of the actual building that's gonna be there. It's more of the elevations of the building of the site section.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because the site section will be after we're done.
Yes.
Okay, gets ko na, sir.
Okay. Then you need to provide, let's say, the canal, etc., like that. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
The one who asked about if it's going to be next week, yes, it's going to be next week. This is normal in architecture class. So I find it fun. Yeah, don't you have to get used to it. All right.
Okay lang, sir. Tanong ko lang naman. Kasi po yung materials kung mag-model po, baka matagalan po kasi bawal pa ko lumabas.
Oh yeah, I understand that part. You can, like I said, you can use any material. You can use any material actually. Basta wag lang siya malambot. Do you get it? Kasi pag kunyari sa bond paper, it really won't train you how to work with something similar to the actual material. Like concrete. Concrete is not flimsy naman, right? So, yun. So, if you can use cardboard, balikbayan box, you can do that. Right now, what I'm looking at lang is that the play of positive and the negative spaces. All right?
Sige po. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sige. Natawa si Mac. Sanay na sila kasi sa... Natawa.
Sorry po.
No, it's okay. Kasi baka hindi ka lang sanay, pero...
Hindi, okay lang naman po. Yung gamit kasi, sir.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I'm more open. So ignore my text here. Ignore the text here. Na Sintra, foam board, mat. It's just an ideal situation, but the material won't affect your grade. Don't worry about it, huh? So what else? In fact, I find it even more artsy if it's done nicely. Like let's say it's different materials. May print pa ng tag price, etc., and then there are handwriting. But if it's done nicely, it's actually more interesting to look at. But yeah, but it takes a certain skill for you to produce that kind of drawing. So
is this like, sir, tanong po, is this like sun and wind carving, but then more with the building again, sir? Tama.
Yeah, this time it has scale because your sun carving in design 1 doesn't have scale. It's for a discipline, that kind of work.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, do we have to consider yung mga technical aspect na parang
setbacks? Yes.
Yung, besides setbacks, sir, either columns and
no. Just massing.
No need.
No need.
Okay,
we can have fun with this, like as if you are Frank Gehry. But this time, you need to consider conditions like sun and wind. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Sir, we're limited to sun and wind conditions lang for this massing.
If you can apply more, I'll welcome it. It's just that this is like I said, try to keep it minimum, but because we are on a calendar, that's why you have a lot of tasks to perform. So, but if you can expand it, I'll appreciate it. I'll definitely appreciate it.
But we have to explain yung other parameters na nagamit natin.
If you're referring to the extra sheets, no, I'm going to ask you to explain it here in a Zoom meeting. Okay, I will try to upload the sun carving of Mac, Kevin, Tracy in YouTube tonight.
Ha? Ano yun, sir?
Remember sun carving and wind carving. It's a sun carving pala in Arcgis 1. Kasi,
Okay.
yeah. Kasi I just checked my hard drive. The footages are high quality. So I'm
Sir, sobrang sabog ako dyan.
Sir,
Sir, wait. Sir, high quality. Sobrang sabog ang buhok ko dyan.
Ni-record ba yun, sir?
High quality yung video, but not the...
Sir, high quality yung puyat ko dyan.
But not the speaker. The speaker is not high quality. Only the video quality.
Pwede ba walang audio, sir?
Sir, yung mukha ko dyan. Oh my God. Sir, yung buhok ko sobrang sabog dyan, sir.
Sige, do you want me to put an emoticon on your face instead?
Yes, sir, pwede.
Sige. With your permission.
Sir, can we
walang
first
audio?
review?
Kahit audio, di ba, sir? Walang audio.
Actually,
Okay,
now that I uploaded the Zoom, it's not as bad as compared to the Zoom. So,
yung in-edit ni Jackie, sir?
What?
In-edit ba ni Jackie yun, sir?
I'm sorry?
In-edit ba ni Jackie yun, sir?
Ay, hindi. Hindi na. But I'll be the one editing it. But my editing is just basically splicing and cutting, etc. I'm gonna cut the unnecessary parts. Maybe not the fun parts.
Anong fun part, sir?
Like, I forgot his name.
There's Kian So? Kian ba yun?
Oh, yata. And then...
May pa-intro pa siya.
Yeah, yung mga ganun.
Ano ginawa niya?
But I'm going to...
Vlogger type.
But I'm going to, what do you call that? I'm going to skip the unnecessary parts. Just go to the meat of the presentation. Just so your peers, your new classmates will have an idea how it's done somehow. What I forgot to get was the actual diagram so that it's better shown on the screen, because in that video they just flash the cardboard on the screen. So you might need to pause how they did the diagrams, because
Sorry, sir, kung puro memo lang nasabi dun na. Bahala na kayo mag-edit, sir.
Editat ko naman.
Hindi ko na maalala kasi talaga.
I will edit it naman if you're not comfortable with it. Okay?
Yeah.
Sige. Sino
Can
ba?
we see the footage?
There's a lot eh.
Kami lang, isama mo si Jackie, sir. Joke.
Actually, Jackie, Kevin, actually almost everyone.
Sino pa ba magaling? Basta, kayo na bahala, sir.
Okay?
Basta maayos lagay niyo, sir.
For my new students, don't get intimidated. Sa una lang yan, it's like injection. And then, like vaccine. But later on, you'll get used to it, because in our profession, it's the same thing. I'm working with projects now, and I could barely keep up. I'm also teaching. I'm also doing some other stuff. But it's all about time management. And the school is a way for you guys to train in this kind of mindset, because we cannot train you to be so relaxed, because the practice is not the same. The practice will require you to produce a lot of drawings so that you can provide the best service to your client. So if you want a good quality design, there's a price for it. You need to draw it properly. You need to present it well. You need to document all the details. and it entails a lot of work. So this is a training for that. So so I know I'm notorious when it comes to deployment, but from my end, I think it's just right. It's just what is needed uh, in the profession as a professional. So like that. Okay. So and then in fact, if you are going to interview my former students who are graduates now, um, they they will still consider this a very light load. Okay, tayo. So I've gotten nicer, believe it or not. So yeah, but and I'm also adjustable when I'm looking at the work today. I can also see how like the potential of everyone. So like I said, I'm gauging your capabilities and I'm also managing my expectation. I'm also managing my requirements. So yeah. So do you have questions, guys?
Sir, can you post the PowerPoint topic, Sky?
Yes, I will. After this.
Thank you,
Sir?
sir.
Yes, yes. Is this clear?
Yun model, hindi na continuous, di ba?
Hindi na.
Uy, ayoko na continuous
Para sa'yo, Kirsten, continuous. Para sa'yo. Tinanong pa eh.
Natakot
Wag
ako
na,
eh.
Kir. Don't bring it up.
Para kay Kirsten, continuous.
In ilang weeks yun, sir? 4 weeks? 3 weeks yung continuity.
More kasi hindi ang kulit eh, hindi nagigets eh.
Kaya sir, wala nang continuity ngayon, sir.
Pero no. It's really up to you. It's really all about the management of the positive and the negative spaces. In fact, it's almost arbitrary, but not really. You know what I mean? When say arbitrary, basta-basta lang. But this time you're still working with the idea of scale, so it cannot be too random. So the idea of positive and negative space, you're just not dealing with a floor plan or circulation, etc. So you can make it as attractive as you can if you want. But like I said, to clarify, to reiterate, if I see elements, like decorative elements, like I don't know, I'm going to question what the relevance of those elements are in the composition. All right.
Sir, yung site massing po is sorry. Is this with the topography if it's available or wala, sir?
Or flat lang?
In your case, yes, may slope ka, di ba? But for the others, for the others, one layer lang. Kunyari, isang bahay, like one layer of building. Like beside the lot, if there's a building, if this is your property, in the flat, and then you have another property, just this one, and then another one here. Like what's the surrounding massing around it? Okay, so you don't need to cover the entire 50 to 70 meter radius. Okay, we only apply that with the map and the 3D model. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
paano kung wala kang property sa microsite mo?
You haven't chosen a site. You need
Wala din kasi bakante din. May parking lot. Kaso property siya.
Then you can choose the parking lot because it's negligible. Like if it's going to be a heritage building, it will be questionable. Maybe I will ask you to work with the heritage building. It's either a vacant lot, it's either your house, so we can assume that you're going to demolish the house, and then it's a neglected or a ruin or deteriorating building. Those conditions, But if it's going to be a high rise, it's a little questionable because it's going to be expensive to replace a high rise with a four-story building. Okay, so the feasibility is imbalance. So we need to manage that. So it will be a challenge for Lance and Fabico, right?
Okay, so I kind of chose the site, pero dati kasi wala siyang lot. Pero ngayon, parang ongoing construction siya, pero di pa siya finished. Is it okay if I use that site?
Sige, you can use that site. Anyway, hypothetical pa rin naman tayo. So, Lance, how about your site? Is it vacant?
May warehouse lot, pero hindi naman importante
The
yun.
warehouse, yeah. It's negligible. All right?
I have a
So,
question though. Yung may informal settlers kasi na nasa tapat ng site. So, how am I gonna do it? Kasi, alam ko tinatanggal na nila. So, I don't know hanggang kailan ba nandun yung mga informal settlers.
it's up to you. I'll give you the choice. Anyway, it's not on your property. So, either later on you can be inclusive, later on you can assume that they have been relocated, etc. So, you provide me that scenario. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, freedom. Okay?
And then, sir, yung sa section sa loob ng hypothetical site namin.
Oh,
So,
if you
our
can,
structure.
to make sure you cover the immediate surroundings, like the backdrop, etc. And then you choose uh, a side wherein you can provide more information.
So, hindi included yung yung site mismo namin, yung gagawing
Actually,
design.
you are cutting the site. You are providing a section on the site. You're cutting the site itself. It's just that you need to show what's happening behind it. That will become a backdrop of it, so that we can have a sense of quality of the play, a sense of place. We can have we know the quality of the area in an elevation format. If your location is Bayas location and it's mostly it's a gated community, so you have houses and then probably you have a lot of greens, then show that, like create a collage of that. That's it. You get it? But so make sure that the profile is correct, that the mesh of the sidewalks reflected, and then if there's a berm going up, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Pero iniisip ko lang, sir, yung sa likod mismo, yung sa loob ng structure. I have no information since it's closed off.
You will assume that there's no warehouse anymore.
Okay. Okay.
You are going to assume that your property is vacant. Do you get it? So basically,
Okay, sir.
you're just documenting in the site section the surrounding site, or the in terms of the section, the building behind it, the elevation of the building behind it. If there are no buildings, then show the trees if there are any. That's why I said earlier, it's make sure that you choose the longer side and the side that has a lot of information that we can use. Because it's a lazy way to choose a side wherein it's just empty. Do you get it? So it's like a beautiful person without any personality. Do you get it? So it's very hard to work with that. Okay.
So, sir, just to clarify, so if my lot, since my lot is it's an empty lot, but it's overgrown with plants and trees, I can take it out, and then
So
what I will be showing is the surrounding buildings.
I think it will be nice to show the trees and the vegetation, since it's because it's related to our study. Because even with the vegetation, it still reads as a vacant lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Because remember, our topic is about vegetation. I think it's good to show that your property has that quality already.
Okay, sir, sige.
Sir,
Yes, yes.
sorry po. Yung
Don't
tanong po,
apologize.
kasi baka po manginig na naman boses ko.
Okay.
Sir, yung sa model po, kung halimbawa sir may building sa malapit sa site namin, tapos de-demolish na, i-include pa po ba daw sa modeling,
Hindi
sir?
na, kung mawawala rin pala because a project takes years to finish sometimes, and I'm sure if there are rumors that it's going to be taken out soon, by the time that your building is done, it's already irrelevant.
Okay po. Thank you, sir.
All right. One thing, if let's say you're working with some, when it comes to massing, for instance, there's a building in front of Janil's property that is heritage, if I'm not mistaken. Or just an example. If it's going to be heritage, then you need to show the profile if it has like that. For example, you're working with Manila City Hall, then definitely you need to show some kind of a recognizable profile of the Manila City Hall with the tower, etc. But not the details. But the moment that you see it, you see that it's the silhouette of that heritage building. All right.
Okay po. Thank you, sir.
And then if your neighbors they have gabled roofs like that, then just show it on the massing. Very clean model. But this model, we're going to use it until, towards the end. It will be the site model, so it won't go to waste. It won't be just for one submission. You are going to put your project on that site model. Okay, other questions, guys? You can also DM me just in case you're shy to ask questions or you forgot to ask something.
Sir, ako meron. Sir, isang plant lang ba or pwede dalawa?
Up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you.
Sige, sir.
Again,
So,
it's all about the potential of your topic to become architecture, which I will explain later on how it can affect the architecture. For instance, Tracy's working with birds, and probably there's a plant on the side. I don't know. It's really up to her. Right now, if you're going to ask the previous batches, I thought before I would give each student independence in choosing their topic. But right now, I'm standardizing it so that we are comparing apples to apples, and you guys can also look at each other's works and then probably see what the other guys are doing and then improve your work. Before, there were several topics. It was face to face. It was very taxing. At the same time, there are certain topics that are really limiting in terms of expansion to architecture. But right now, we're working with just one topic for comparative purposes. And at the same time, we're working with the same idea so that everyone can relate. Okay, and I think it's more challenging. It's already challenging as it is, and it will be more challenging if it's going to be a variety of topics. Okay, other questions, guys?
Sir?
Yes, Adrius.
For sa manual part po, pwede naman po marker tsaka color pencil.
Yes, you can do that.
At kahit perspective drawing, pwede rin po.
Yes. If you are more proficient and you think if the work will be professional quality, then do so. But what we're very strict with manual drawing are the technical quality of the drawing, because if you're going to look at the slides, yes, it's very creative, but there's a scale, there's proportion, there's color, there's measurement, there's dimension, and there's line values and line types. You know what I mean? So there's a technical quality to it, even though you know that it's presented in a very unique manner. Do you get it, Adrius? So
Yes.
we're not looking at portraiture. Um, we're not looking at the painting. No, we're not. We're looking at the spatial qualities, the architectural qualities that are not present in a personal expression on paintings. Do you get it? So just be careful with that, because there should be a balance. Okay.
Yes.
Sir,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that the maximum lot size should be 500, right? Is it okay if I extend past 500 for if ever vegetation, but then the actual structure is within the 500?
Yeah, like the property of Janil is around 600, and I accepted it because it's around the 500 range, so it's okay.
Okay.
Maybe it
Thank you,
becomes
sir.
possible when it's 750 already, because it's
Okay.
going towards 1,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, so the 500 is the buildable space or yung lot lang talaga?
Lot lang yun. Okay?
So as soon as ngayon, pwede na kami pumili ng
Yes,
dapat
yes.
pumili na kami ng plant, ganun.
Yeah, the earlier you're able to choose the plant species, the earlier you can work on this. Again, for the information to everyone, when it comes to design classes, especially when you go abroad, it's all about immersion. Um, you really immerse in the project. You think about it day and night, and then you get all the information that you can get, so that as early as you can already percolate the ideas. How is it applicable with the actual project? For an existing project that I'm working on now, I provided about I had 50 iterations, 50 SketchUp models, because I'm not satisfied with the first scheme. So I had to keep testing it until I get the right one, until I'm satisfied with the final one. And I'm still on the schematic design phase. So try to imagine if I move towards the design development phase, wherein it will still be developed and revised. You get it? So you need to immerse in it. So and when it comes to this particular project, the earlier you choose, the earlier you make a decision, the more time you can immerse in this project. Don't treat it as a task. The problem with a lot of the design students, the first people who complain about the deliverables are the ones who treat this as a task. Like, oh, I'm going to do it the day before because it's just a map, etc. The problem with that is that you won't have the time to immerse in the project and percolate. They get it? Because the realizations of ideas take time. You can't just draw it and then see you submit it. Like, you need to generate ideas as you go along. Do you understand? So it's the same thing with the actual project. Actually, if I'm going to uh, share it or relate it with the actual project. Okay.
Sir, so nakailang iterations kayo sa Viewpoint House?
Mga 80 for schematic design.
Okay.
Pero I have to clarify then. Chito was even surprised that when it comes to my project, I don't even provide seductive renderings. I like those photorealistic renderings. And then I showed him my final perspective, a very rudimentary, very elementary, what do you call that, SketchUp model. And my point is, it's really about the space, and for as long as the client gets it, it's okay. And because one thing is that I also work with physical models. I'm more a physical model guy. I try to apply what I learn in school, what I learn from my mentors, so that yeah, so I'll be providing the best service to my client. because a lot of the offices are afraid to use that because it takes a lot of time. But since I'm a small company and I'm not pressured to get a lot of projects uh, to to make a company survive. I have the freedom. I have a lot of time to waste to create iterations. And this is exactly my point, guys. You are in school, you have that luxury. This is your practice because in practice, you cannot, or in the actual profession, you won't be able to do this anymore because either you treat architecture as a business or you treat architecture as a something that you're passionate about, and if you treat it as a business, you won't have this kind of process. You won't be able to uh, immerse in it as much as you can. So whether you treat it as a business or as something that you take time to work on, just like me, um, the school is the best venue for you to immerse in the design. That's why don't treat it as a task. All right, because at least you already know the process when you are practicing, even if it's a business for you, and I think you can produce better designs if you are if you're able to immerse in this kind of methodology. All right.